Hello, mi gente. We are finally back after a break and welcome to season 4 of Hablamos Spanglish. This season kicks off with a twist because this time the mic is turned on me. In this episode, I will open up about my life in the US, sharing the raw and the real challenges I face, how I navigated a new culture and language, and how I transform my weaknesses into my superpowers. This isn't just any episode, it is a heartfelt look into my story. And I'm excited to share moments I have never talked about before. Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the notifications so you are first in line for these inspiring stories. Plus, I want to hear from you. Share your own experiences in the comments below. Get ready for a genuine and moving conversation. No te lo pierdas.
Hi everyone and welcome to Hablamos Spanglish. I know I'm not Ana Carolina, but hear me out. My name is Carolina, so it kind of halfway counts. I'm so excited to be here, getting the opportunity to host today's episode, and here's why. We always watch Ana sit on this side of the couch and put everyone on the hot seat and tell their stories. Well, today we're switching the roles. Ana gets to sit in the hot seat. Welcome, Ana. We're going to give her a little taste of her own medicine as we just get to hear your story today and hear how did we get here? Where did Bold, Hablamos Spanglish, all the things come from? But more than that, and more importantly, who is Ana Carolina? Why is she the way she is? And how did we get here? And what's her story? So without further ado, everyone, Ana Carolina Salazar.
Thank you, Caro. When I was thinking, and this is actually because our listeners, our friends, they were asking and sending these messages like, we want to get to know you, Ana. I'm like, that makes sense, right? You want to get to know the host of Hablamos Spanglish.
Yes.
And even though I have been sharing, little pieces of my story,
Yes.
I thought that it was important also for me to share how did I get here. But I'm like, I don't want to do it just me telling my story. So how do I do this? And I'm like, who is the best person to do it? And I thought of you and, and Carlos. And because I knew that thanks to our friendship, you guys have provided this amazing space, but also the friendship that we have, that this could be a great team.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm so excited. And, it's really interesting because I know you're probably going, I've told my story a million times. How do people are still asking what my story is? But, you're right. It's different when you have a conversation where you're getting asked, and sometimes the parts that we think are our story and we've told them, because it's normal to us, it's not the normal. No. And, people really want to get to know you. Yeah. And so let's go back to the beginning. I mean, not all the way the beginning, but just how did you come to the States? Because I know because I'm your friend, but you came here as a teenager. And so how was that? How did you get here? What brought you to the States? And what was that transition like from Venezuela?
Yeah, so this is, I would believe, the hardest question, right? Because it just takes me to one of the hardest moments that I lived in my life, which was to lose my mom at the age of 15. My sister and I used to live with my mom in Venezuela in a really small town called San Antonio de los Altos, near Caracas, the capital. And, we were really, really happy there. I have the best memories, the best friends. And it just, when that day came and suddenly our life changed, it was very, very, very hard, right? So my dad was already here in the United States. He came to do his master's, and he ended up staying. he was in here already living in Orlando. He got remarried and he had my little brother. I think he was like a year old, a year and a half when we got here. So it was the best.
Now he's like 6 feet
age.
tall. I don't know.
Yeah. But I still treat him as my baby.
Yes.
So so yeah, we decided we were coming here on a vacation, to Orlando. But I don't know, something inside me, and I knew that we were staying. I even, said goodbye to my friends in Venezuela. Like, I knew that, we were about to change our life. Because if we, were in Venezuela with our mom, what was the best thing is just to be with our dad, right? So,
right.
And we came here, we had a family, right? But it was hard because it was a lot of moving pieces, a lot of transition, a lot of changes. It was new family, new language, new culture.
Yeah.
So
and then school, because you came at the end of summer. And so here you are now. Not only are you, hi, I'm here for vacation, which I'm going to stay and live here, but I've got to start school in a few weeks. And so
I think we actually went to Arizona. And we spent some time with my aunt, my mom's sister, lives there. And we went on this road trip to Arizona, Vegas.
Wow.
I don't know why we went to Vegas at the age of 15, but yeah.
Yeah, there you
were. Then Los Angeles, it was our first road trip in the U.S., which
that was a
really
good
cool.
one. That was a good one to go on.
Cool. And then, but then it was like, we came back.
Right.
And then we already had a room, our beds, like, oh my gosh, this is real.
Wow.
And then we started shopping for our school supplies, all these things. And then my stepmom, she takes us to this place. And, we used to live in Waterford Lakes here in Orlando. Then she takes us to this place, and we thought it was a mall, but then she's like, no, this is the high school where you're gonna be attending. Wow. Because of course in Venezuela everything's
smaller. Yeah. Well, and we grew up, I know in the Dominican Republic, we grew up watching like Saved by the Bell and like, the American high schools.
Exactly.
And so for us, it was like, that's what you see in movies.
Yes.
This is actually real. Kids have lockers.
Exactly.
And, it's a real experience. And so you were now getting to live that.
Exactly.
What do you think was the hardest part transitioning? I mean, obviously, I'm sure from a personal, just emotional and socially and all those things, just grieving your mom still and going through that process was very hard. What would you say from a cultural transition standpoint was the hardest part for you to now building a life here?
Yeah, definitely was the language. And that's why Hablamos Spanglish exists, right? Pero it was hard because I remember like going to school and going back to, and attending all these classes that were in English.
Right.
That I wouldn't understand. Of course, we had ESOL classes, which is English as a second language, where somebody helps you and goes with you through, through the material. We had English classes, but I remember going back to the house and I will cry and cry because I just had a huge headache. I didn't understand. I miss my life in Venezuela.
Yeah.
So I think that was the hardest part because I didn't have friends at that time, actually, because of the political situation in Venezuela.
Right.
That led to a lot of Venezuelans coming to the U.S.
Yeah.
So they migrated here. So there were a lot of Venezuelans that came that year. So those were my friends. Mom. So that's when I decided, like, yeah, I learned English, like I could write it, I understand it, like And that was like 6 months after.
Mm-hmm.
But then I didn't feel comfortable speaking in English. So, but I have my friends, my Venezuelans, my Colombian, Puerto Rican friends.
Yeah. So you would literally like live life in Spanish, but then
Exactly.
do school and
Yeah,
stuff in
literally
English. Like
that way.
anything that required reading or writing was happening in English.
Mhm.
So then, okay, how do you land then in this world of like marketing and public relations and social, well, not social media at that point,
No,
but not at that point, but just this
Yeah.
world, like, did you think, okay, I'm graduating high school soon, what's life gonna be? I know you went to Valencia and UCF, so like how does that come into your world? I know now, okay, if you're English, you probably don't know this, but Ana's dad is actually a very well-known musician in Venezuela. And so, you know, in quote unquote, you had a famous dad,
Yeah.
which is also a whole set of, you know, brings up a whole set of
That's a new
interesting
episode.
life. Yeah, that's a whole other episode. But like, how do you then decide what you're wanting to do after high school?
So the thing is that I got here in a junior year, right? So in Venezuela, you only have, you go to school until, so I got here, 10. I got here as a sophomore.
Okay.
So in Venezuela, you only go until junior year.
Okay.
So I had 2 more years or 3 more years to prepare to go to college. But the thing is that even though I had 3 years, because of all the transitions, learning a new language, I had to take my regular classes plus English classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have that opportunity actually to learn about, you know, how do, you know, where are the colleges that are here, you know, what's the
Right.
process.
Right.
So I, you know, I took the SAT, for example, and I remember like they will give us extra time because we are, you know, we have English as a second language.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't, even though you give me more time,
Right.
Yeah,
This is not a time issue.
It's not a time issue. It was just that,
Like,
you know,
literally don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I don't know how it's right now, but it will be easier if, you know, those tests will be in Spanish, right? But the thing is that I didn't know at the time what I wanted to do, but it was because of my dad that he took me to a media tour in Venezuela.
Wow.
Right? Like we went to over 200 media stations, radio, TV, newspapers, magazines, like,
Wow.
you know, all this media.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with that. I love how, you know, from the person that, the promoter, you know, the person that was taking us on this tour, the charisma that he had, like knowing all the media, the personalities, introducing my dad, like literally selling his music, his, you know, his
right, his image, almost his brand.
Exactly.
At that time, we didn't know it, but his personal brand.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and I love that, right? So I'm like, I want to do this, right? So I came back because I was like 17 at that time. I was about to graduate, and I told my dad, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to apply for journalism, but unfortunately, because of my, you know, my inner thoughts, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes we can be our worst enemies.
Yeah.
I was like, no, Anna, why are you gonna do that, right? You need to do. You have your accent, right? Your how are you gonna be learning all this in English, and then, you know, a lot of. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't feel ready for that, or I didn't think I will have the opportunity actually to really get a job in the media. So I decided to do PR and advertising, and it was thanks to my professors, which I still am in contact with them.
Oh, I love that.
And yeah, thanks to social media, and I actually, you know, I still see them on some of the events here at that networking. So it was thanks to them that they told me, yeah, don't, Anna, you're doing an amazing job. And they will tell me, actually, your presentation was the best among all the students, right? So they will push me also to be the best version of myself, even though I was doubting, right?
Yeah.
So then I got my first job. Actually, was with my second job. Actually, was a Univision.
Okay.
So I actually ended up at a media station.
I think most English-speaking people or non-Spanish people know Univision. They'll call it Univision, but it's Univision. Yes,
exactly. So, so I remember before LinkedIn was where your resume online, right?
Right.
It wasn't like a social media,
right?
Page, but I just posted, I'm searching for new opportunities. And then the sales manager, or I don't remember, he's like, what kind of opportunities are you looking for? I'm like, hey. So I got the interview, I got the job. Amazing. I was the sales assistant. But even though I was a sales assistant, I was helping all the marketing team, the sales people, which do the marketing, the promotions. I will assist on all that, but I didn't stay put. I said, okay, I already have my, sabes, un pie adelante, aquí adentro.
Yeah.
I have an opportunity, so just work around your skills. And I literally volunteer to help in every department at Univision, right?
Wow.
So I learned how to edit a video, how to do the news. I will do the, the biggest concerts like Olga Tañón, El Gran Combo,
like doing the event production side.
For at that time it was for Salsa 98.1 FM.
Of course.
So I learned a lot. I love it. I did my demo reel, but unfortunately I didn't get an opportunity to really do what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Which was really pursue the actual face camera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. To be in camera, to do host a radio show.
Right.
And so I'm like, you know what? Someday I'll create my own opportunity, right?
Who would have known?
Yeah, exactly. So, but then this opportunity came at Prospera, which is a nonprofit organization that helps Hispanic entrepreneurs to start and expand their businesses. It's nonprofit.
Yeah.
But that's when, I learned about, and I got so inspired by listening so many stories of Hispanic entrepreneurs that were starting their own businesses here, but I'm being so successful, right? So I'm like, maybe one day I can do that. So literally, who was my boss at that time, Maria Angelica, she was my role model. Even before I got to work with her, I met her by doing some volunteer work. And I'm like, I want to be like her, and I got to work with her and I learned many things with her. So that's actually what led me to then opening my business.
Wow. Which is crazy. It sounds like a lot of what you do now through the mission of Bold, and even Hablamos Spanglish, but especially through your business side is, a lot of people start a business and they'll create this avatar of who they're serving. And, they're like, well, they think this, and these are the pain points we're trying to solve. But for you were the avatar. And so I think you have this.
I always say that. I'm like, to my team,
you're like,
when you're going to create a user persona, hello.
Yes, it's me. And but what a unique perspective that is to bring that, as the business owner too, to bring that perspective into how you serve your clients. It just gives you this edge to better serve your clients. And, yes, I'm sure it was so hard to go through all those experiences through school and applying for college and doing all these different things and trying to figure it out on your own. But then now to be able to use that experience as a founder and helping these large companies really reach people like you, the new Anna, the Annas of 2024, is so cool and is so unique. And I think probably refreshing for a lot of your clients to see, hey, we don't have to figure this out. These people are the experts in that. But anyways, that was just a side note I thought was really cool. Okay. And so you worked with your dad, you went on the saying, you ended up going Univision, all of that. What would you say is like sort of the bigger obstacle when it came to the business side now, and building the business? And how did you find, like, was that a natural progression for you to say, hey, I'm an avatar, I need help? How did you find that? Or were you still struggling to figure out what your identity was at that point?
Yeah.
Because you're like, am I going to stay in my bubble of Spanish speaking, or how do I make this? I remember at that point, do you remember when like Selena and all this, it was like making the crossover?
Yeah, the crossover
was like a thing.
I had to do that.
Yeah, like Mark Anthony and Selena and Shakira and like all these Latin artists that were making the crossover, quote unquote. It's almost like you had to do a little bit of that. Am I going to stay here in what I feel comfortable, or am I going to cross over into, the American market?
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
Oh my gosh.
And what helped you make that decision?
So it was a journey still, right? Because I actually, when I was working at Prospera, I knew, marketing was coming natural to me.
Yeah.
And that's when digital marketing actually,
kind of started.
Yeah. So I was doing it because it came natural, and I have, of course, my boss, who was also my mentor and friend. But then I was like, I want to do this, but I want to learn, and I want to do it the right way. Why am I doing what I'm doing?
Right.
I know we're sending newsletter, we're doing social media, how do I know that this is working? Right. So that's when I decided, like, I was looking for a master's degree. I knew I wanted to do it overseas, because my mom actually, she lived in Europe for a long time. Like, she lived in Paris. She actually studied in this Sorbonne. I don't know if it's pronounced like that, but La Sorbona. So she studied architecture there, and she lived in London. So like, I knew I wanted to go overseas and follow her footsteps, but I did my research, and I'm like, what's the job of the future? So it was digital marketing, and I learned about La Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona, and they were 6 years ahead
compared to the US.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? This is it. I applied, and I got in. I got all my savings out. And I decided to go. My grandfather helped me also to pay my master. And I it was an amazing experience, because I also got to travel a lot within Europe. And what I fell in love was like the way they did marketing, right? Even though they were in Spain, right? You will see how different they will market to each one of their audiences, right? And then when you travel to Paris, or you travel to other countries, oh my gosh, it's just, I loved it. I loved it because it was very different.
Yeah.
So, and when I decided to come back to Orlando, I knew that I was going to open my business.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to create a marketing agency, but I wanted to be different. I wanted our work to stand out, and my clients to stand out with the work that we did. So, because I was on the other side before, and I remember like getting RFPs from other agencies, and I will get the same thing, and I was like not inspired at all. So I'm like, no, I want to be bold, and I want to do something different. That's actually why bold is the name of the company. So
and tell stories in a different way, which
exactly.
Again, and I will say this, I really think this is something that we coming from the outside, we as Latinos, I think we have this like world view that I think a lot of Americans don't have. And it's not right or wrong. I think it's just different. I think it's just the way, I think it's just the way our country's like, because we are so much smaller in terms of like world power, you know, we're exposed to so much. And so I think we do have this unique ability to be incredible storytellers because we get to glean from so many different cultures and things that we really grow up learning about. You know, traveling to Europe, like doing all these things. It's like, you know, most people in the USA don't even think about going to Europe till they're like adults.
Oh yeah,
where
don't even
we're
have a passport
as
until
kids, we're like, when are we going to Spain? You know.
I know.
So I think that's so cool that you have that perspective that you can, you know, and you bring in, and you're such a storyteller. I mean, clearly not just through Bold, but then Hablamos Spanglish and creating the space to tell different stories from different walks of life and different perspectives, and how that all kind of interconnects us is just part of your experiences. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah. And it didn't come easy because we started as a digital marketing agency, but then COVID hit and we lost most of our clients. We were only 1 year in to the business when COVID hit. And actually, that's when I met with my coach, my business coach now. And I remember, like, of course, we lost most of our clients. So I did, and I attended a webinar that he did, and he was talking about value proposition. He's like, you can do your value proposition and, you know, get a 1 hour consultation. So I did it. I did my homework. I called him. And then I remember, like, he sent me later, like, because I wanted to work with him, and he sent me a quote, and I'm like, at this time I cannot do it, but I would love to. Then months later, he's like, Anna, let's have a virtual cafecito together, you know? And then he just wanted to help me. And he asked me, what makes you different? What makes you different from the other digital marketing agencies that are out there? And that's when I realized that actually my experience had been in the Hispanic market. So even though I stayed in my comfort zone for so long, because that's what happened, I didn't feel ready to, I always thought like, I'm not going to apply to this job because they're going to look me down. They're, you know, like all these things, but it was a mental barrier. But that led me to stay in my comfort zone, but understand the Hispanic market, right? In different areas, from the artistic, nonprofit, media perspective, like so many ways. And then my team is Hispanic, right? Because I actually created an opportunity so immigrants could have an opportunity to do what they love, right? Because sometimes when you start from zero in another country, unfortunately, you don't end up doing what you love, right?
You do what you have to do.
Exactly. So then, you know, that's when we tie all together. We did a rebranding, and that's how Bold became Bold Hispanic Marketing.
That's awesome. I love that the thing that was initially sort of keeping you back was the thing that actually turned out to propel you forward. So I love that you leaned into that, and that's so inspiring for everyone listening. I think a message, whether you're Hispanic or not Hispanic, or, you know, the fact that, you know, lean into the things that you're afraid of, because that's probably where your power is lying dormant, and you know, will come alive if you just lean into it. But Anna, thank you for creating this space. Thank you for sharing your story. I know that there's so much more that we could share. What's next for Anna? What's next for Hablamos Spanglish, for Bold? Tell us about you now.
So, I'm a giver, right? I'm a person that if you know me,
I think everybody in Orlando knows Anna at this point.
You're gonna see me volunteer. I am passionate about volunteer. I think somebody asked me one day a question like, if you were to do something that you really love, what would it? I'm like volunteer. Like I could volunteer the whole.
You're like I could just volunteer
if I don't have to
every day.
Pay.
Yeah.
Like I will do that. But the thing is that I've always been that person. I'm a giver.
Right.
Right now, I'm on a season of actually pouring back, on myself.
Yeah.
I lived a hard situation last year that I went back to Venezuela after 8 years.
Right.
That I wasn't able to see my family, to go back to my own home country, which
right.
Is part of you. That's where you have your roots. But then I went when, unfortunately, my grandfather was hospitalized and the situation was very difficult over there. That's the reality of our country.
Right.
So then I came back and I felt, very, I don't know how, like frustrated, but also, I was having this life, just even
almost like guilty,
yeah, like even drinking a glass of wine, like, why am I drinking a glass of wine? My family's having
just
such a hard time
to survive. Yeah,
exactly. It was hard to cope with that, right? But then my grandfather passed away. He was like a father to my sister and I. And then, other things happened that made me realize, what my priorities also are in life.
Sure.
And in order for me to continue giving, the best of Ana Caro to the world, to my team, to my family, I just need to step back and take some time to, heal.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then that way I can be myself again.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I love that, the community out there, I've been able to share, and they're always there like, Anna, how can we support you? And it's incredible to see how the community that I have created around myself, around Bold, around Hablamos Spanglish, they also became, they're sometimes more than, a client, they're friends, they become family, right?
Right.
And it's beautiful to see that they are like, Anna, yes, take some time to do what you need to do. And also my team. My team has been my rock, and I had a conversation with them like, I need to do this because I want to be the best leader for you guys, right? Also. And I work for 6 years, nonstop. And I say 6 years because 1 year was as a consultant, and then 5 with Bold, but it's been nonstop. And you have to take care of your mental health.
Absolutely.
Right? But those difficult situations, it's unfortunate that it happens that way, but that's sometimes that when you see like, oh, I need to change something. And I had to learn how to say no to things.
Which is so hard.
Which is hard. I always say yes.
So,
but and also seeing like where do I really wanna, where do I wanna give my time? Because your time is the most precious gift that you can give to somebody, right? So I had to make changes, right, around my life. But I believe that the best season is coming, which is the question that that you ask. what's coming. Have been at Ball. We have gotten amazing clients. We have been doing amazing projects for our community. One regarding mental health for the Hispanic community,
That's
which
awesome.
is big,
Needed.
and so needed. And
Yeah.
actually, we did this with Advent Health and Harrow, Florida United Way, which is the Lidera Conscientemente campaign. We're working on several projects that actually have an impact.
Yes.
And that's actually, for me, what's next. That's what we're working towards, is
Absolutely.
things that really, have that
weight. Yeah.
exactly.
Weighted impact.
And it can change our world, right?
Absolutely.
Granito de arena. But that's
absolutely.
And for Hablamos Spanglish, we just, I think it's getting bigger and better. Hopefully, we're gonna partner soon with Sonoro. So we're excited about that, and just good things. They reached out to us in December, but
That's incredible.
it wasn't the right time for me.
Right.
Now we are open, and just to amplify our voices and the voices of so many Latinos here.
Absolutely. We are so excited for you, Ana. So amazing. And you can't give from an empty cup. And I think it's so bold, for lack of a better term, but no pun intended, but it's so bold of you to do that, to take the step and to have the self-awareness to say, you know what, we do want to be big things, but we can't do that if we're broken, and if we're maybe not broken, but burnt out. And so in order to do those big things, I have to be the best version of myself, and it's okay. We don't have to be on the hustle and grind every time. It's part of the responsibility of leadership is knowing when to pause and say, let's make sure we have the systems, the place, the people in place to sustain the growth, so that this can be full of impact and be sustainable and be long-term. So I applaud you for that. Thank you. Thank you again for sharing your story. For the sake of this episode, we're going to land this plane right here. But thank you again. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to be your host today. Please go and subscribe, share, rate this podcast. There's so much more of Hablamos Spanglish. If you have not heard some of the older episodes, make sure you check it out. Some invaluable, incredible conversations on leadership and just resilience and grit and stories that are going to leave you just transformed and inspired. So check it out. And until next time.
Thank you, Carolina. I appreciate you. I'm very excited that Hi Hello is our home here in Orlando.
Absolutely. It's right. Yes. All right.
Muchísimas gracias, mi gente. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey of Hablamos Spanglish. It is a pleasure for me to explore the diverse stories and experiences within our vibrant Hispanic community. I hope that you have found inspiration, connection, and a deeper appreciation for our culture and heritage. Remember, our stories are what unite us and what make us stronger. Stay tuned for more captivating episodes in the future, and don't forget to follow us on social media and share your thoughts with us. Hasta pronto.